Hello and welcome. This is Guy Glidden. I'm starting a process of 4 lessons to provide support for your development of Excel skills. Now, I understand that we probably have all stages of development of Excel skills among people in this course. So it's offered in this way. I'm going to give a whole set of lessons with the assumption that they're provided for somebody who has no background experience in Excel. And if you have some background experience, you can plug in where you want to. The end result's going to be the same, and it's going to be this little thing I'm highlighting right here, that you're going to demonstrate your Excel skills in a test-out process. The skills that tasks that you're going to demonstrate will be pre-identified. You can use it with a demo file that I will provide for the purpose of a demonstration test-out. Or you can do the same tasks with a data set from your place of work. To do Excel, you're going to need 3 things. Number 1, you got to have access to a computer with Microsoft Excel. So you need to do that. But I think Excel is pretty widely available in school districts, public and private, and employers in Kansas. If not, let me know and we'll work with you to make sure you have access to something to do that. You're going to have a data file, an Excel data file, and we're going to show you that in just a minute here. And then finally, there will be 4 screencast lesson sessions provided. A little bit about this PowerPoint. I'm not going to spend any time going through the PowerPoint other than to show you that this is lesson 1. And these are the things we're going to try to make sure we get across in lesson 1. You should use the PowerPoint as a checklist. So if you go through lesson 1, if you say, I've done that, can do that, then you ought to move on to lesson 2 or lesson 3 or lesson 4. Find out where you need to plug in order to demonstrate the skills. With that, I think you'll be just fine. And with that, I'm going to move over quickly to an Excel file that we have here. And this is the top of what an Excel desktop looks like. You need to explore these locations. We're in the home location right now. And the file, the data is going to look at the bottom, but the prompts up here are going to change. So we're going to go to Insert, the prompts change. Insert's going to provide the location for pivot table. And when we set up graphs and charts, we'll spend time looking at one more, and that's data. And there's some sections we're going to use yet today under the data section. Let's go down to the bottom here and show you that in this file that you're going to be getting, their Excel files are composed of a series of sheets. You can have almost an infinite number of sheets, but the sheets here include a sheet on the Excel help sessions. Those are labeled here. There's one on the data set we're going to be using here. And there are 3 other data sets which we will not be talking about today, but which we will be provided to you for a separate purpose in this process. One other kind of a beginning process here, in the organization of Excel sheets, you have columns. They'll go vertically. Columns are labeled with letters. When you run out of Z, you go to AA and AB and AC and so forth. And then rows are labeled with numbers. What this means, obviously, as you get an intersection of one of these columns and rows, then that cell every cell has a specific entity. This is cell G3. So that would be pretty clear to do. Let's get on with some of the things I want you to learn about today here, because I want to look at 2 functions which are going to help you sort out here, and they're located. Now show you where I'm going here. If my computer starts in the home location, if I go to data, which I did right now, up at the top you'll see a sort and a filter icon. And these are good processes here. And I'm going to hit that one to get back to starting spot, because I want to start with sort. And sort, pretty much what it says, it allows you to sort your data any number of ways. Now, as a starting spot, look in column D and you'll see this file is organized alphabetically by the name of the person that is set up on it's a set of test scores, but this is the identity. Now suppose I went over here, and one of the forms of test scores I have is narrative test scores, pretty clear here. And suppose rather than sorting this by alphabetical by last name, I wanted to sort it by the test score over here. So I go to sort. Okay, hang on a minute here. It wants me to get my highlight off, which I just did. So I go to sort, and a little floating menu comes in here. And right now it tells me that sorting by name, and so I said no, I want to do this by narrative test scores. And I want to go from largest to smallest. I want to look at the guys who are on top first. And OK. And presto. Narrative test scores appear for me in descending order. And of course, it's no longer alphabetical. Now, the other thing I'll demonstrate on this is you can do a sort within a sort within a sort. Let me show you how that might work. Suppose that I said I want to look at school. I want to add a level, and then I want to look at gender, and then I want to look at level, and then I want to look at narrative test scores. So this would tell me I want to separate them, sort them by school. I have 4 schools located in this file. By gender, male and female, and then I want it by the scores, and these are going to go over here. School's going to be from, I want this from smallest to largest. I want this, the sex from A to Z, and that simply means the females will show up before the males. And I want the test scores to go from largest to smallest. And here we are. So for school 101, located right here, I have all of the female scores, and Lajorli, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, has the highest score. So I can do a sort within a sort within a sort using this little icon here. Pretty good for checking out information if you want to do it. Now if you get through with this and you want to be done with this, let's go here, and we're going to delete a level, and we'll go back here and we'll put it back in my name, and we're alphabetical, and we're right back where we started from. Let's go to filter, because we can demonstrate something else with the filter. Now the filter acts like a toggle switch. If I hit the filter, pretty close to see what a filter is, these little fall down stick tabby things show up here, and let me show you how those operate here. Under race, it shows me what the alternatives are for the race of students in this particular set, and you'll see I've got quite a few choices. Okay. But let's go to one I just want to demonstrate with. In group, I have 2 choices here. Students could be in a disabled category, a general added category, or there may be a blank in there. I'm not sure about that. Let's label this and go to disabled, and bingo, and then I hit the filter button. And what it's done is it's located for me, and it's telling me down here 30 of the 326 scores in this file, it says down here at the corner here, were in the group that's identified as, sorry, I'm trying to move this back here so you can see this a little better here. So the group that's labeled as disabled. Now, let's suppose that I want to demonstrate something else now, and let's go to the copy and cut functions. So let's go down here, and what I want to do is I'll just, you can't see it very well, but I'm using my cursor to highlight the scores that are labeled disabled. And then if I go over here and if I punch my little right mouse, I could either cut or copy. Now remember, if I cut them, I'm going to delete these from the main test score file. If I do a copy, I just make a copy. They still stay in the file, but they're there. Now, what I want to do is I want to go over here, and I happen to have a blank sheet, and incidentally, let me show you down here. You can create more sheets anytime you want to, simply by pressing the little button at the bottom here, and more sheets come in. But I want to go to the sheet that I have existing here, go up to the top, put my cursor at the top, and hit the paste. Okay, now what I've done is I've removed the test scores for the so-called disabled group and created a second file. And that would be good if I wanted to do something more and check out some of these information in more detail without looking at the total file. We're getting close to the end for this file. I want to demonstrate one other thing quickly, and this is something we're going to do a little bit more of. I want to demonstrate a little bit about the live cell. And of course, the live cell is where you have the cursor, and I can enter anything I want in here, a number or a name, or I can do a copy and a paste, and I can, in other words, it's where you enter information. You can also do something which is called dragging a function. In other words, once I set a pattern up here, and I simply hit the little sweet spot down in the right bottom right corner, it drags the number. And I'm going to delete those out of there because I don't want to be messing around with those. Got to remember, that's one thing you do is clean up your junk. Suppose I want to establish a different pattern, 203. In other words, I'm kind of training Excel to notice that I'm setting a pattern of having the numbers go up one each time. Drag the function, and it replicates that function for me. So it has quite a bit of power there, and it's kind of a reminder that Excel is trying to do what you want it to do. Going to delete that. I want to go back and demonstrate one other thing now, and that's with something called, we're going to show you where the function wizard is. Now, this is not the last time we're going to play with the function wizard, but you see up in the middle of where this little white space is, right a place where both the names are, a little small f and an x, and I have this little, my live cell right down at the bottom column, and position is important, location is important here, important. I hit the insert the function, and look down here, it allows me to select a function, and I have average up at the top on this one, so I'm going to use that one because it's going to demonstrate the purpose. So I'm going to do, okay, I want to do an average. And right now it says, okay, do you want to do an average of cells G2 colon G31? And that happens to be all of the numbers in this file that are in that column. So what it's telling me is now that I have now located an average for the test scores in column G, which happens to be narrative test scores. And then going to the function of the live cell, I can drag that function across, and that's going to average. Now notice it didn't just drag the number 67, it dragged the function. And right up here at the bottom, this is going to give you, this is important up here at the bottom. We're going to go back to this again, where it says equal average open colon H2 colon H31 close parenthesis. This is an insight into the formula that Excel actually does to do the function. So what it has is that it has a whole bunch of little functions to use with numbers, cataloged by a name. You have to know the names, or you have to look them up in the little function wizard icon floating menu. And these all follow a set pattern. The equal sign at the beginning of whatever you're putting into a live cell means to Excel, I want you to do a computation. Average tells me what that computation is, right here. And then the number in the parentheses is going to tell me the numbers you're going to use. So it says H2 colon H31. Let me show you one other thing, and then we'll move on for this process. If I change this from H2 comma H5 comma H31, hit the button. That's changed that because now all I've done is I've done an average. So if I use a comma between the identifications for the cells, that says just do these here. If I have two cell identifications with a colon between them, it says do an average or do the function for these two right here and everything in between, and there we are. Okay guys, that's enough for today. We'll go back and so you can see what we've done here. We've reviewed these things right here. We've done most of them. I want you to go in and take a look. If you think you know how to do those, very well and good. If not, practice them, and we'll start with the next one very quickly, the next lesson.